Previously on Shop Formula Garage. Ooh, this fluid in this thing is like brand new. So this is what the transmission looks like. And I mean, it's not bad. Like I said, it had just been rebuilt in the pan. Looks like somebody forgot to put the magnet back. But pretty much all of this was due to that transmission leaking. There's a lot of corrosion and stuff on the top. That is ridiculous. Welcome back to Shop Formula Garage. Today we are working on the Drag-N-Drive car. We are going to be tearing this engine down and looking at it and seeing what all it needs, and you know, if everything's okay on the inside. If you have not seen any of this series on this car, I will leave a link up in the top right here so you can go check that out. And while you're at it, check out Shop Formula Garage on Facebook. I'll leave a link in the description box below. So let's get started on this engine. Okay, this engine is a 383, and of course it was not born a 383. It was born a 350, and as a matter of fact, we can check the casting number, which is right here. This right here shows that it is a 5.7 liter gas engine, GM. These casting numbers right here, I don't know if you can see them, but basically what this means is I went ahead and looked it up. I looked up the casting numbers. It's 1024380, and it is for 1996 and up, 350, 2 or 4 bolt main, Vortec roller cam. This engine was actually a ZZ4 engine, crate engine, and we'll get more into that, and I'll tell you the story of how I came about this engine. But the first thing we're going to do is pull this intake off, and of course that's the exhaust. I probably want to juice these down a little bit so I can get that off. They've been juiced before. Things been sitting here for a while, but let's just start tearing into this and see what we find. Oh, right, some of this stuff has just been set in here. It's been pulled off by other individuals, and then I had to stick it on, you know, just so I won't lose it. All of this intake, this throttle body, all this stuff is going away. As you know, if you've been following the series, you know what the plans are, and it is all going to go away. This engine is a ZZ4. It was a crate engine in the late 90s. I worked for GM, and a company, a performance shop out of San Antonio, bought this engine from the dealership that I was working for, and they went ahead and they installed it. I can't remember what they installed it on, Camaro maybe, or heck, I cannot remember at all. But once they got the engine together, they realized it had a knock in the engine, and they needed to get that fixed, figured out, whatever. It's a brand new engine was knocking. So even though they bought the thing over the counter, with any dealership, if you buy a part over the counter or assembly or something like that, and you need to get it warranted, you have to take it into the service department, and a certified technician needs to diagnose it and check it out and find out what's wrong. That's the only way to get it warranted. So they brought the vehicle in, and it just happened to go to me, and I diagnosed it. I found out that the front main bearing had spun. So ZZ4 engine, brand new. And if you don't know what a ZZ4 engine, it's GM's high performance engine, and the thing came with high performance GM heads, and you know, some bells and whistles and stuff, a high performance cam. And so I found out that the front main bearing had spun on it, and going through the warranty process, what we ended up doing was, you know, of course we took the engine out and took it apart to find out what was going on. We ended up putting a brand new short block in it. So the short block is just the bottom end without the heads, and of course everything else got moved over to the short block, including the heads, camshaft, you know, performance camshaft, everything like that. So that's what they got back. And what I did is I needed an engine at the time, and the engine has to go through a warranty process, and what that means is it needs to get locked up, and it needs to get saved until the warranty claim can be paid, in this case by GM. And basically it needs to sit around for at least 30 days, 30 to 90 days, something like that. Well, I talked to my parts manager at the time, whenever the engine went into its warranty process, and I told him, hey, when they release this engine, I would like this engine if it's possible. And of course he frowned at me, you know, I don't know about that. And anyway, time went by, and eventually he came out and he said, here's your engine. So that is how I came across it, and all it was just a short block with a spun front main. So of course I took it to a machine shop and had the machine work done, had it turned into a 383. I replaced the crankshaft, camshaft, I mean pretty much everything. I do remember that they had to put a special timing chain set on here because of that front main that had spun, but I never had any issues with it. I had the engine balanced and blueprinted, of course machined to be a 383. Basically the machine to a 355 with a 400 crank. So instead of a 350 crank, it has a 400 crank, and that's what gives it that longer stroke, which turns it from a 355 to a 383. And that longer stroke gives it a lot more torque, and believe me, this thing has some torque. You put your foot on the gas and it will just go, and it just right now. So this is a lot better distributor than the one that we pulled out of 305, although it's basically the same engine or same part number. But you can see how this thing spins. Not like the other one that's locked up. But we're not going to be using this, but I am definitely going to save on it. And how this came about, I might as well tell you the story while I take this ignition coil off. And when I got that that red Firebird Formula, it had a high output 305 in it, and that's where this intake manifold came from. That's where all this came from, was that that red Firebird Formula. And it had a high output 305, but man, the thing was just, it was using oil big time. You could pull out the plugs, and the plugs would foul, you know, after a couple days of driving it, you know, especially, I think it was cylinder number 7 was the worst that I can remember. And so of course I wanted a 350 in it, so I had a 350 sitting around at the time, and I wanted to build it and make it better. I bought a bunch of parts from Summit Racing. I put some I use a factory crankshaft, but I put some Summit connecting rods in, and I got a competition cam, put a new camshaft in it. I put these Trick Flow G2 twisted wedge heads on it, and the thing ran great for 350. It ran really great. I was happy with it. Sounded great, ran great. Everything was great until one day on my way to work, I walked out of my house and I saw that my front tire was a little bit low. Not too low, a little bit low, and I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna have to put some air in when I get to work. So I'm driving to work, and I just hear this real loud BAM! And you know, I was like, what the heck is that? I thought that the tire blew. I thought, oh great, blown tire. I pulled to the side of the road, and when I did that, when I pulled to the side of the road, I noticed that the engine stalled, and I was like, why did the engine stall? And then I tried to start it and it wouldn't start up, and I went ahead and got out. I looked around at all 4 tires. All the 4 tires were good. I looked underneath the vehicle, and I just saw oil just pouring out on both sides of the oil pan, and I knew something bad had gone wrong. You know, I was like, did I throw a rod? That just doesn't make any sense. So I you know, I ended up having to tow it, and I pulled the engine apart eventually, and found out that one of the small ends of one of the connecting rods had come apart, and it was just hitting everything in there, you know, just, you know, holes in the cylinder, and it broke the camshaft into 3 pieces. It bent 2 valves. It broke 2 push rods, of course, in that one cylinder. It just obliterated that engine, you know, holes in the oil pan, holes through the side of the block, through the cylinder, everything. And it was just devastating to me, because I spent all my money building that engine, you know. So yeah, I swore to never ever buy another part from Summit again, but we'll get back to that. So this is what this engine or this intake looks like, you know, without the runners on it. And so I'm going to quickly get these. This is what GM like to do, you know, is use these little Torx ends. You know, I guess it makes them low profile, you know, I guess, you know, but man, you can have some issues using those all the time. And I got these out. This was holding the ignition coil over here. So I'm going to get the rest of this off, see if I can get these off. I may have to pull. I'm going to try and see if I can get off without pulling this fuel rail, but I may have to pull the fuel rail just to get this angle right here. And like I said, this is 3rd gen, but the angle of these bolts right here is like this, where the angle of these is a little bit off, a little bit straighter like this. That's what happened when they went to the center bolt valve cover. So these are center bolt valve covers. These are original valve covers. Once I take these off, I'm going to show you. I had to kind of modify these. And what I mean by modify is, you know, get a hammer and chisel after them so that they would fit, so the rockers would actually have some room, you know. And I'll show you that once I get them off, because these were not meant for the roller rockers that are in there. So it's actually kind of bulged out a little bit. Not too bad. You can't really tell much from the outside, but let me quickly get this off, and I'll show you what I got. I need to pull these off too. I might as well pull the intake and the exhaust manifold. So let's get to it. Okay, you can see how massive the opening is here on these exhaust valves, on this exhaust side. I mean, this chamber is completely massive. There's like no restriction at all when it comes to the exhaust side. I don't know what the chamber measurement is. I'm sure that I used to at one time, but I could look that up. They are, like I said, trick flow G2 twisted wedge cylinder heads. And so now we need to get the intake manifold off. Let me turn this back around. figure out which way this thing turned. Which way did I turn it? Why is it stuck? What's the matter with it? Oh, the thing pushed in. It pushed in on me. Okay. Oops, that's not good. Drop the stud that was holding the engine in place. Okay. Let's get this intake off. I got all the bolts out and everything. So let's pop this loose. I can catch it in a good spot. There it is. Not even stuck. Not really. Doesn't smell bad. Doesn't smell too bad. Actually, the worst part of it is probably this RTV. So whenever you're putting an intake on a engine like this, or any engine that has this valley like this, guys, don't, these intake gasket sets, they come with a little rubber piece that goes on the end of the valley, this wall. Don't use those. Throw those things away. They will be a big headache for you, I guarantee. See, this stuff is cracking. You know, it's RTV, yet we still don't have oil dripping down the sides or anything. But if you use that rubber piece that goes along this wall, I guarantee you will leak. You'll have a leak, you know, and most likely it'll be in the back over here, and it will look like a rear main seal leaking, and it just big gigantic headache, I guarantee you. So don't use that. Use RTV. Put a good bead of RTV, and you will be much happier for it. So let's get in here and look at this. We got, of course, a roller cam. We got this spider bracket, that's what I call it. It holds these little brackets into place for our rollers. It keeps our roller lifters from spinning. You don't want roller lifters spinning. If they're hydraulic, regular lifters, flat tapped, solid lifters, they're not roller, then you definitely want them to spin. Otherwise they'll wear out, and they'll wear out your cam. But these are made to roll on the camshaft, so you don't want them spinning. You want them to roll because they have a roller on it. So this is looking pretty good. And I mean, if you look at these chambers, they don't look bad either. I mean, they are pretty wide open. Not too sure if I even need to think about having them ported, because they are pretty wide. But we will find out. I found a machine shop, and it's not just a machine shop. It is a speed shop, and it is close. I mean, lights going crazy there. It is close. It's close by, and they are a speed shop. They have everything. They have a machine shop. They have from what I told, they have a dyno. Yeah, and they have a custom shop, paint shop. They do everything, custom seats, just everything, and they are close. Matter of fact, they're just like down the street, practically down the street. So we are going to be calling them and finding out, you know, I mean, they're the experts. So I'll talk to them and see if it's worth it, you know, to have these ported, because I mean, there's a lot of room there. I can, you know, stick half my hand down in there, you know, there's just a lot of room. So these are nice. These are nice heads. Let's get these valve covers off and see what's underneath them. Okay, let's get these valve covers off. So to continue with my story, I built that 350 and the thing came apart. I had no engine, no vehicle. I mean, I had other vehicles, but I had no car, except for this one, you know, the one that we're building right now, and which was being used. And anyway, I swore to never buy another part from Summit Racing again. And I talked to a buddy of mine, who was a shop foreman at the time, in the shop that I was working at. He said, you should call Summit. I'm like, why would I do that? He said, you should call Summit and you should tell them what happened and see if they can help you. So, you know, at the time, we weren't really ordering parts over the internet. The internet wasn't much of a thing back then. Everything was ordered over the phone, you know, looking through a catalog. And I called Summit and I told them what happened with their connecting rods, how the small end opened up and it just obliterated my block and everything and completely ruined my engine. And the guy told me, send me the rods. So take the rods out, take the pistons off, send them to me, and we will check them out. And I'm like, really? Okay, you know. So I did that, and then I forgot about it. And this was, of course, before I acquired the ZZ4 engine. And then, you know, I was trying to get that ZZ4 engine, trying to build an engine for the car and stuff like that. And then one day, Summit called me and they're like, hey, we found that there was a discrepancy in those rods. And for real, he goes, we found that there was a problem with those rods, and they had micro cracks or something like that in the small end, and it was called a defect. It was a defect. And I was like, okay, what are you gonna do about it? You know, and he was like, well, we will credit you back the price of those rods. And I'm like, you know, that doesn't help, you know, not even a bit. You know, my engine grenaded. It's gone. I can't use anything. It's completely, you know, busted. Of course, these cylinder heads right here, they were on it, and they took, you know, very, very, very minimal damage. You know, I was so surprised. I was lucky. They didn't take hardly any damage. There's like a small little dent in one of them, and we'll see if we can find it. He goes, you know, and we talked back and forth, you know. He goes, well, we don't pay for, you know, any collateral damage, you know. And I'm like, why? You know, you should. You know, if these were the cause of the collateral damage, then you should pay for it. So he came back and he said, we are willing to give you a one-time, I don't know, it was like 25-30% off, you know, on whatever you buy one time. And I'm like, okay, so 25-30% off. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but it was, you know, a pretty big, you know, bit. And I was like, you know, for on one thing or what? And he goes, no, on one order. So and I'm like, does this expire? He goes, no, it does not expire. So I spent a lot of time looking and figuring out what I want to do with that ZZ4. Figured out I wanted to make it a 383, and that I was going to get a 400 crank and this and that and everything, and I you know, did all my homework and stuff, and finally came up with all the parts that I need to do it, and I made one purchase with that 25 to 30% off, which saved a lot. It did. It's still expensive. It was definitely still expensive, but and you know, because of that, I, you know, decided that I would purchase something from Summit Racing. And I don't usually get Summit Racing parts though anymore, but I do buy from Summit Racing. Look at this. These are the roller rockers. They are trick flow roller rockers, and you see how these things, they kind of hang out. So the deal with the G2 twisted wedge heads is whenever you whenever a GM on a regular GM vehicle or GM engine, you know, third gen anyway, the way that these valves, the way they go in, they usually go down at an angle, right? So your piston is coming up like this, and the valve is going like this. It's at a different angle, and because of that, in the pistons themselves, there's a small little I would call it like a half moon crease or whatever, and that's where your valve relief is. The twisted wedge head takes that angle and it turns it this way, so that the valve is going face down, practically face down towards that piston. So you don't need that much of a relief. And as a matter of fact, I have trick flow pistons, and I'll show you that once we get these heads off. Trick flow pistons that are made for this head. So trick flow roller rockers, trick flow head, trick flow pistons. Some of these are really loose. Of course, the thing's been sitting around for a while. And this does not look too bad. I mean, look at this. It's like brand new on the inside. There's no sludge, nothing. See a little bit of something right there somewhere. So rocker may have been pushing on that. But this was massaged, especially like this right here. These edges, they were massaged to keep the rockers from hitting it. And I mean, these things are so hefty, they barely fit inside this. You know, they just barely fit. You can imagine that, you know, how that thing goes down in there. So, yeah. Had to do that same thing with both of these. And this one is the same way. It was massaged basically on the inside more than anything. But somehow, you know, I do remember kind of having to tap these out. And they feel a little, I'm not sure. They're really, really, really clean, but I don't plan on reusing these valve covers. We're gonna go with something better. At the time when I built this engine, I wanted a bigger valve cover, a little bit taller, not super tall, but maybe mid-tall. And I really couldn't find it. They didn't make them back then for the center bolt valve cover. And so I just went with these. Of course, it's cheaper to just reuse rather than buy new. So let's get these rockers off. And yeah, another deal that you have to, another thing you have to deal with when using this head is these push rods are different lengths push rod for intake versus exhaust. And of course, the push rod length had to be set up. I had to measure the push rod length and do the final adjustment, because you want this thing right here to fit perfectly square on this whenever it is pushed down halfway. Let's see, all of these, this one right here, so it's not exactly squared out, but maybe we'll see how I did on it. Like I said, most of these are a little bit loose. I can even twist this a little bit. Of course, the hydraulic lifter has been pushed down a little bit. It's been sitting for a while, so these lifters have been pushed in. And I don't think we're going to be going with this camshaft, although this is a really nice camshaft. I don't think we're going to be going with this. I think we're going to bump it up a little bit. So we'll probably be going new camshaft, new lifters. You know, probably use these same rockers. These are 1.6 ratio rockers. And are they? Yeah, they sure are. I don't know if you can see that in the light shining. It says 1.6 right there. It's 1.6 ratio rockers. I figured, you know, might as well just do it. Let's get this off and pull these heads off. These push rods, for some reason I thought that they were different sizes, but they're exactly the same size, all of them. They're all the same size, so that's cool. That's less that we have to deal with. These are, I don't know if y'all can read this or not. These are competition cams, Cormali high-tech push rods. One piece. They don't have the ball end, you know, welded on that can pop off or anything like that. And they are, it says right here, 7974, that's the part number. I don't know if you can even see that, but it is 7.85 inches long, and it is 80 thousandths wall thickness. So they are pretty high-tech, very, very sturdy push rods. As a matter of fact, these are the same push rods. So competition cam push rods, competition cam lifters, competition cam camshaft, and these are the same type of push rods, along with those roller rockers that were on here when I had the 350 and these heads on, and it actually broke two of these push rods. I just busted them. Yeah, there was a lot of force in that explosion. So let's get this head off, and well, let me pull the spark plugs out. Okay, let's pull these plugs out. Yeah, it looks like she was running Richard and Forrest Gump. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. It's not bad, actually. And this engine, this is a good engine. We could just stick this engine in and it'll run. And I know it. You know, it probably won't have any problems at all.
It was running fine when it was parked, running absolutely perfect actually. But we want to do a lot with this car. We want to do a lot with this engine, and I am hoping that the guys down the street at the speed shop will help me, because I built a lot of engines, and a lot of engines like this too. I have built them, and I know how to build engines. But what I don't know for sure, and I am definitely not sure about, is how to build horsepower. And horsepower is what I want. I want this thing to be a monster. But I mean, not too much of a monster. I need to be able to drive the thing on the highway, you know, using pump gas. You know, it's a AC Delco plug FR2LS. So, you got a GM engine, might as well run a Delco plug. And they all look the same. Rich is better than lean. I'll tell you that. Okay, let's pull this head off and see what we find. Issue with this head bolt sits way down inside there. All of these do, and these are different sizes. So this is a 5/8, 5/8, 5/8. Look at this one right here, 1/2 inch, and just so that thing could fit down in there. Trying to get the 1/2 inch socket on it. So I'm looking for a thin wall 5/8, and this is a 5/8 socket, thin wall, as thin as I can get, and I cannot get that thing to hook on. It's not going in. And this one, I can get it lined out, I can get it to go down. Hard to get back out. But this one I can't, so I'm gonna have to figure something out if I can line it up and just jam it in there. Apparently I had the right socket at one time because I put these heads on. So I need to find that, find out what's going on. So let me do some research and see if I can figure it out. So I found this 16 millimeter 12-point socket that fits in there. So let's see if that works. Let's go with this and see what happens. Okay, got it off, and you can see these pistons the way they are not traditional, although you see like a little valve relief right there, but you see the dish, and it is very, very shallow, and made for those pistons, those valves to come practically straight down, you know, rather than being at an angle like this. They're pretty much straight. I would say almost straight. I mean, there's a reason for that little relief right there. Yeah, so, and the cylinder walls, I mean, you can see all the crosshatch, and every single one of it looks absolutely beautiful. Yeah, looking really good. This is the cylinder head right here. There's the gasket, just a one piece GM. Everything is looking good all the way around. Now this is what I was talking about. I don't know if you can see all that stuff messed up right there, right there, right in here, even right here. Trying to get you a good glimpse of it way down in there. So this push rod broke, and it just slammed everything, you know, everything, even that piece right there. But it did no damage to the parts of the cylinder head that really matter. Okay, so this is you know, where the push rods go, right here and right here, as they run through the head, and both of these push rods broke, and they were just slamming the heck out of everything. No damage, major damage to the inside or anything like that. So they're coming through here. So this is looking really, really good. You see these big old valves. I think 202 160, I think. So the biggest valves I can get on this, 202 intake, 160 exhaust, and it's looking really good, really clean. Like I said, we could put this thing in and have no problem at all. Of course, you know, it's not an LS, you know, and people are saying, you know, why don't you just put an LS in it? You know, I could probably buy a used LS for $1,000, junkyard, you know, spend another $3 grand on cylinder heads and camshaft and probably make close to 500 horsepower. I mean, and I got the Terminator X. Well, I could use a Terminator X. We'll work with a LS. But I would have probably been better at getting a Terminator X Max, because I would have to replace the transmission. 700R4 probably isn't going to work with the LS. I don't know for sure, but I don't think it will. We would have to use a electronic shift transmission. We would have to get the Terminator X Max, you know, which is a lot more expensive, you know, for operating a automatic transmission. But the thing is, I have this, you know, I built it. It's a good engine and not an LS swap, which is what everybody's doing. So it's what I have, and it's a really good engine. So that's what we're going to go with. I'm going to go ahead and pull the other cylinder head off and get these lifters out of here, get all this off so we can turn it over, pull the old pan off, and inspect the bottom end. And I don't know if you noticed, I had to pull these guides, the pushrod guides off, so I had to get the studs out on the other side because of this spot right here. Wasn't able to get the socket in there. Of course, even after I got the guides out, the socket still wouldn't work. But that 16 millimeter, 12 point seemed to work fine, so I'm gonna go with that. Look at this, is something I just noticed. I don't know if you can see this. See the wear on the end of the push rod. Now you can see that the wear is right in the middle from those roller rockers, and that's where we want it. But what's weird about this is these this cross right here. Like it was wearing one way and then it's wearing the other way, and pretty sure that's not right. I'm going to look into that. Yeah, so you want the thing to be right in the middle, and it ain't exact. But like I said, this engine was, or this cylinder head was on 2 engines. This is the second engine, so who knows? Just a little bit more diligent at this stuff nowadays than I was back in my younger days. I wanted it to be right, but I just didn't care. It just had to be done. I just did it. So I definitely want this thing to be right whenever we go back with it. So I'm gonna look into that. I can't really feel the wear. I can see it though, so I'll have to look into that. Maybe we need to replace the valves. Maybe do a valve job. I don't see why it would need a valve job, but you can cut these tips of these valves and make them square again. Of course, this is going to be a job for the experts, which I'm going to get in touch with them and find out. So let me get this head off and get these lifters out, and let's see what we can see. All right, let's look at these cylinders. You can still see the crosshatch and every single thing. I mean, it's like brand new. Yeah, I mean, nothing wrong with this at all. It looks good. This one right here, just like the last one. It's like that might be a Velcro gasket, but I mean, everything looks good. We're probably gonna pull these valves out, clean them up. You know, I don't think they need to be I don't think they need to be cut or anything. Still not sure about this, but these big old valves, don't know, depending on the camshaft that we go with, we may have to replace valve springs. And I think that God, I should get the my spec card on this cam. You know, I think it had a oh, you know, I'm not even gonna guess the lift and duration of that cam. I cannot remember what it was. I used to have this stuff memorized. You know, it's like, man, I know what I got. You know, but it's been so long. Let's get these this bracket off, and let's pull out these lifters, and then we can spin it over and take the oil pan off and check it out. There is coolant in there. The thing's got a lot of coolant, so it's gonna drain out all over the place and make a big old mess. Let's get these lifters off. So here is the roller lifter. Roller hydraulic lifter. It's got this little roller in here. It doesn't look bad at all. Looks like something was running in that right there, but I can't feel it. I run my fingernail across it. I can't really feel it. You can kind of see it. So, but clean as clean can be. I can push this down, so it's not like these things are pumped up or anything. They've been sitting for a while now. But let's get this engine over and pull the oil pan off. Okay, let's see how much of a mess we can make. Let's give it some time. Give it some time. Be patient already. Be patient. It's gonna make a mess no matter what. Wasn't that much coolant. Here's the other side. Still got the starter on here. Still got the oil filter on here. To get those off. That is an old AC Delco. I don't even know what it is. AC Delco oil filter. Okay, let's see if we can get this pan off. All right, let's get this off. And there she is. Isn't that beautiful? These rods. I mean, to me, these rods are a work of art. They're absolutely beautiful. I remember when I was handing them over to the machinist and he was putting the thing together before I put this pan on. I'm like, man, it's a beautiful thing that nobody will ever see. But these are strong rods. These are Eagle rods. This is the Eagle steel crank. And you can see some of the machine work, like in the corners right here, right over here, underneath this gasket. See if I can pop this gasket off. Yeah, like right there. Just so that this, because this is a 400 crank. It's not a 350 crank, it's a 400. So it's from a 400 small block crank. So they had the machine down right here, over here, and then to get the crank to actually be able to spin in here. It's a longer stroke. So, and I mean, it's absolutely beautiful in here for, you know, being inside of an engine. Yeah, and these things right here, and you can see the 4-bolt mains. These, there used to be a baffle that would run right here on top, but because of the 400 crank, they would hit the baffle. So we just took that off, don't need it. Here's what's in the pan, and I mean, there's a little bit of carbon, old oil, definitely nothing major at all. It's all good. I don't even want to take these off, just because then I know I'll have to torque them back down, and then if something happens, then it's my fault. But I definitely want to look at them, or look at one or two. I definitely want to look at this number one, this main, the front main bearing. This was the bearing that spun. So I need to get, well, get this gasket off of here. See if I can pull it out without pulling all this. It's a fluid damper. Yeah, of course I'm getting junk on it, but yeah, and this is just a stock water pump, so we're probably going to go with a better water pump. I can see rust inside there. But yeah, I'm going to pull this off just to look at this bearing and see what we can see. Okay, let's see if we can get this off. I don't know what the torque spec is on this, so I'm gonna have to look that up. So that's fine. If this bearing looks good, I'm not even gonna look at the other ones, because this engine just does not have that many miles on it. This is the only one that concerns me because it had spun in the past. Of course, the machine shop did their magic on it, and there was something about it that they needed a special timing set. Come on, get out of there. Wiggle it, nice, slowly but fast, faster but slow but even. Oh. There it is, it's out. And of course the bearing just fell out of it. That is nice. That is super nice. So this is what we're looking at. Let me get you up here so you can see this. Okay, don't know how well you can see this with the reflection of the light, but this looks absolutely beautiful. Absolutely. There ain't nothing wrong with that at all. And I can see the timing chain in there. There's no slack. We may end up replacing this timing chain cover anyway. But as far as, I mean, everything looks good. Here's the main. You can still see the crosshatch in there. I mean, from what I know, whenever a main spins, they line bore it, and then you put oversized bearings. Here's the bearing, and I mean, just minimal wear. I don't think that's bad at all. I see no copper or anything. And these are Cleveite 77 bearings. It says standard, STD. I'm pretty sure that stands for standard. I'm not exactly sure. I'd have to look up those numbers, but I think this is good. There's absolutely nothing in there. There's a little bit of you can see this pattern right with your eyes, but you can't feel anything at all. And there's no copper showing, which is really good. So I believe I'm just going to put this back in and put this back together. This is good. I'm not going to mess with any of these other rod bearings or anything like that. Like I said, this is very low mileage on this. As a matter of fact, we'll probably just stick with the same oil pump. This is a high flow oil pump. Don't remember what brand it is. And I'm not seeing a brand on the side of it, but seems to be doing well. The only way we replace this is if we go to a different oil pan. I'm not sure if we're going to keep the same oil pan. There's really no reason to go to a different oil pan because the oil pan fits perfectly fine with the cross member. I don't think the engine's going to be so powerful that we're going to need special baffles or anything like that. But we'll find out, and I'll talk to the experts just to know for sure. See, look at that right there. So the pickup screen was welded, tack welded onto the oil pump, and that right there is just, that's the way that I used to do it. It's tack welded in 3 spots. So we would I'd stick the thing on there and lift it up. I would lift it up, purposely lift it up too high, put the oil pan back on it to push it down, and it would push down till it was sitting basically on the bottom of the pan there, which of course is too low. Then take the oil pan, and you do this with the oil pan gasket on, and pull the oil pan back off, and then move this just a certain amount back down. And once you get it in the right spot, tack weld it. So this thing does not come off, and it has enough distance between this and the bottom of the pan, so it's not sitting here starving for oil, trying to suck oil off the bottom of the pan. And that's just the way that I used to do it. 3 little tack welds holding the thing on. And so yeah, this is the engine, and that is the teardown. You see this big mess I got on the floor here. I'm gonna talk to the guys at the machine shop and the speed shop, and I'm gonna find out, you know, what can they do? What can they do with this these heads? You know, is it worth it to open it up? You know, or are these high flow already? I mean, like I said, this engine, it had a lot of power, I mean, it was fun. It really was. I mean, you drive 70, 80 miles an hour down the road, put your foot to the floor, and it would just throw you back in your seat and just kept going, like right now, like forever. You know, it was really nice, but it wasn't as fast, you know, in the quarter mile that I wanted it to be, and tweaking things here and there and stuff. I had a Excel DFI, digital fuel injection system, and I am not a tuner at all, but I would sit there with the laptop and I would try and tune stuff and try and make it faster. I finally just got to the point where it just wasn't good enough for me, you know. And I believe it's all the restriction in the intake, because I was using a stock intake. These are not stock injectors. As a matter of fact, these are super chip injectors. They are guaranteed to never go static. And what static is they will, when you get to a high enough speed, they'll just stay open. You know, so there's no control over fuel when they go static. These are guaranteed to never go static. When I put these in, I built this 383 for the first time. I was using a stock PCM or ECM, and I went to the track for the first time, and the thing died on me on the starting line. It's the very first time it just died on me. It wouldn't start. Cranking. The guy's like, "Hey, get it out of here!" And they pushed it to the side. I finally got it started for the last time and drove it down the side of the track back to the pits. Pulled out the spark plugs, and it was just dumping fuel. They were just stuck. They're stuck wide open. They're stuck wide open because the ECM could not handle. The driver in the ECM couldn't, for the stock ECM, couldn't handle these super chip injectors, and the amount that it would cost to buy a new stock ECM was so expensive. I might as well spend a little bit more money and get a standalone system, which is when I went with that Excel DFI system. And it wouldn't do any good to buy a stock ECM anyway, because it couldn't handle the injectors. It would just blow that one out too. So yeah, that Excel DFI system, it's old. It's hard to program. There are no graphs or anything like that. It used a floppy disk, you know, an old laptop, you know, yeah, I'm definitely doing a lot better going with the Holley Terminator X system, definitely. And I can take that to the speed shop, you know, on their dyno, and they can program it for me, the guys that know what they're doing. That's what I hope to do with this thing. Anyway, there's a teardown. I will contact the speed shop and find out, you know, what they think that I should do with these heads and stuff, and how I should build it. I'm even going to talk to them about camshafts. I'm going to get my cam card and figure that all out, and we will build this together. Hopefully, if everything works out right, I will be able to get those guys at the speed shop to give us a little tour. You know, that would be really cool to see what they do in the custom shop, custom paint, machine shop, dyno, fabrications, just everything that they do. It's really, really cool. So hopefully I can get them to give us a tour, and we can put it on the channel. So that's pretty much it for today. Next time, in the next episode with this car, we're probably going to be I know we need to tackle this, but I think what we're going to be doing is we're going to be tearing out the interior and take all the interior out, the dashboard out. I want to get the dashboard out so we can get the AC unit out and get this thing out before we tackle all this in here. So probably next time, dashboard and interior with an update on what's going on with this thing right here. So that's it for today. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate the heck out of each and every one of you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and share the video. And I will see you in the next one.